Okay, so you were a young child right during the Depression, and you talked about it was before CCC time. Do you recall any of the building that was happening during the WPA and the Conservation Corps?
I don't know if the WPA did anything out there. They did here in town, but it was just CC's. They built roads mostly out there.
And there were some very nice signs that were at one time placed around where they had like their headquarters. Do you remember seeing any of the headquarters? I think there was one at Avlayman, wasn't there, Ann?
That wasn't a headquarters, it was
Just a camp.
a camp.
Well, in the Rose Canyon there by the spring, maybe 2 miles up from Yule Potter House, down on the side, they had a camp.
But they didn't come into town very often, did they?
No, when we had that dance after Daddy built a house in '39, a lot of them came down and over there, and when they started causing trouble, they got run off. And my uncle was a big, tall guy, over 6 foot tall. He was running along like this and kicking them in the butt.
So, any other memories about that? And then, about what period of time did you go to school here in Hot Springs, here in town, or did you finish some of your schooling at Ingle? Tell us about your school.
I didn't go to school at Ingle.
You didn't go. Okay.
I went to kindergarten when Richard went to school in Tularosa. I don't remember who he stayed with, but I went to kindergarten part of the year. And then in 1935, I started school at the Ridge Schoolhouse with Laura Seitz. Wilbur Seitz's mother was a teacher, and Mr. Seitz drove the car. They had a thing on the back that you could open up, and well, that's where we put our lunches. But it was just a car. And then she was teacher first and second. Maybe the second grade, they stayed in our house at the Bosque, and her and Wilbur had come down by, but he drove the bus and after that, and he was teacher third grade. But they'd pick Richard up and Margie and Thomas and go and pick Aline and Elmer and Joe Pete and Sonny and Fred and Howard and Babe. And the Gillen boys all walked across, because they were only maybe a mile from, and I think it was when Ben was in the 6th grade, he went out there. This
is Ben Kane. And so you're talking about were the all the earlier names that you mentioned, were they all your siblings, or were they members of?
Margie and Thomas were cousins.
Okay, and they were Potters.
And they were Potters. And Aline was Wood, and Joe Pete was Wood, Fred and Sonny were Woods, and then Howard and Babe were Woods, but their mother was a Henderson, so they were kin to me, but the others weren't. And the Gillens, Miss Gillen was a Wood before she married Dick Gillen.
Dick.
And he was a brother to Jim Gillen?
Jim Gillen, yes. And for those of us, or for those that may not be familiar with our history, Jim Gilliland and Oliver Lee and who was the third one? McNew? McNew were all tried in Hillsborough for the alleged murder of Colonel Fountain and his son, but that never, the trial verdict was not guilty because they didn't have a body. But Dick Gilliland did live. The Gillilands did live out on the.
Oliver Lee was the only one that was ever tried.
Oliver Lee.
Well, they all went over there though.
Yeah, but Oliver was the only one that was tried. The other two, they didn't try them after he was found not guilty.
Okay, so that was quite a history of the area, wasn't it?
And then there was Frank and Vera and Mona Martin that lived north of the school. They went to school there before I did. And there was other older kids, Gillen kids and older Woods kids that went to school there. And my mother didn't start school, was a Beardian schoolhouse till my uncle got old enough. He had to walk 2 miles up Beardian Canyon and cross the mouth of Panther Canyon to get to school.
Now, where was this school again? Did I miss that?
It was a Beardian Canyon between my grandparents, the Hendersons, in the Woods' place.
Okay, I
Okay,
guess that's somewhere
Yeah,
in there.
and that's in St. Andrews Mountains, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was Panther Canyon, and what was the other canyon you called?
Bearden Canyon.
Bearden? And where did it get its name? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea, but as far as Mother and Daddy knew, Uncle Feedy Henderson killed the last bear out there in about 1935 or something. I don't know what year. But now Woodses have a bear skin that they say that one of them had killed it in later years out there.
In St. Andrews Mountains.
Yeah, it'd been on up north of Rhodes Canyon somewhere.
And Panther Canyon, any idea where that, was that because of lions or?
Must have been, I don't know. But the Daddy and the Potters came out there in April 18th, 1920. And I don't know for sure what year the Hendersons come out there. I know in 1900 I have a picture of Grandpa. He was a logger over at Mayhill, Weed area. So it was after 1900, before 1905, because he married Grandma in 1905. When she was 14 and he was 34.
And how many children were from that union?
From the Hendersons?
Uh-huh.
Mother, no Roy, no Clinus, Nate Reed, and Uncle Luke. And then there was a little girl and a little boy that, well, the little boy was premature and didn't live, and the little girl died when she got 2.
So 7 or 8 kids?
And,
That's from the Hendersons?
yeah.
Now, were those Hendersons any related to the Hendersons up in Dusty?
Uh-huh.
And how were they related?
That one up there was my grandpa's brother. They all came out there, and he was going to file on some land this side of the Miller house. And when he's going to file it,
Lennox?
said, you can't do that because I've already filed on that property. So he got mad and went to Dusty area.
Oh, that's how the Hendersons relocated into Dusty. Now, was this, how was Elizabeth Hill? She was married to a Henderson at one time.
Yeah, she was married to Waddy,
Okay,
and he was from up there.
and he was from that area up there. Okay. And Clay Henderson, who was Clay from?
Waddy.
Waddy. Okay, so Clay was Elizabeth's son or a
stepson.
stepson? Okay.
His mother was Goebel.
Okay.
I don't remember what her first name was, but she was Goebel.
I remember Clay and I were in high school together, so he was older than I was, but I do remember the long rides from Dusty on the, coming in on the bus. Long rides. So, now, you went to school out in a, what was the name of the school out there?
Rich Schoolhouse.
Rich?
I went the 6 years, and then when I come here, I was in 7th grade. Like I told kids when I was substitute, it took me 6 years to get out of Hot Springs High School. They look at me funny. Because then high school was 7th through the 12th.
Right.
So that took me 6 years.
That's right. Well, and I think we all went through that. At that time, the middle school was part of the high school, so they had elementary school was...
After they built the high school up there, that was just middle school. But I had got out before they did. Well, Sonny went there, and then he graduated the second year up there. But the first one was 65, and then he graduated 66 from up there.
So, you graduated from high school in what year?
1947.
Okay, 1947, and you married, and... No?
No, I married and then I graduated.
You married. Now that took something to go back and finish your high school.
Oh, when Wayne asked Daddy if we get married, he said, yeah, if she'll graduate high school. So, I could go a half a day and get 16 credits, all we had to have then.
16. And now we have to have 24. And if schools are on block scheduling, they have to have 28 or so. It's amazing, you know. Yeah, the difference from 1947 to 2010.
I went a whole year, half a day to graduate.
Now, where did you live when you moved into town and finished your high school?
On 500 Gold Street. Daddy had bought the house in 39. So we lived in his house until, in 1950, Wayne's mother and dad lived on the hill under the water tank. And he said, son, we'll give you that 2 lots there if you build on it. So we had the city come up and dig back, because it was straight off, dig back, and it took us 5 years to build the house up there. But it was paid for when we moved in June of 1955.
And what, describe, Gold Street is now the main street that goes up to the hospital, and that is out on east. It's east. So explain that area when you first moved out there.
Gold Street was the city limits.
Okay. And that was 1950?
No.
19...
I know in 41 it was city limits, and I don't know when they took in more. But there were maybe 3 or 4 houses past Gold Street was all there was.
Paved and dirt roads? And were your children raised in that house?
Partially. Because after we moved in 55 out of the house, we lived up on the hill. We had 3 kids up there, and then 3 more up there.
So the names of your children?
Howard Wayne Jr. and Helen Kathleen, and Henry Edward is deceased when he was 47 from a massive heart attack. And Harry Michael and Gustav Ernest. And when he was born, Wayne's dad came the next day to see me. And I said, I figured you, because he wasn't well, I figured you'd wait and see me when I got home. Well, I had come to see that baby you named for me. But Gustav was for him, and then for my dad was Ernest. And then there's Helen Kathleen.
Okay. And so they attended school here
They
in
all were graduates from Hot Springs High School.
And then you had grandchildren.
Yeah, I've had a lot of grandchildren graduate from there.
That's right.